All right, I think we're live. Welcome everyone to the first Global Youth Leadership Summit weekly momentum session. My name's Sergio and I've been a coach at GYLS the last 3 years. I'm the founder of Run Your Mission Inc., where I do coaching and speaking. I'm so excited to have you guys all here. We're going to have a good time. I really honor your commitment for making it on here. I know it's really early for some of you. It's, I think, 7 a.m. in LA. It's really late for some of you. It's like midnight in Australia. So I really honor your commitment for keeping GYLS alive. We have some amazing guest speakers lined up. We have all kinds of speakers from GYLS, coaches, we've got some youth leaders, so it's going to be a really great time throughout these Saturdays. Now, to kick off the momentum session on the Facebook group, on the GYLS Momentum Session
Alright, I think
Facebook
we're live.
group.
Welcome everyone to the first Global Youth Leadership Summit weekly
again?
momentum session. My name's Sergio and I've been a coach at GYLS the last 3 years. I'm the founder of Run Your Mission Inc., where I do coaching.
There it is. Yeah, who knows why that just happened. Whatever, the first one's good. Anyways, on the GYLS Facebook group, I just posted, so if you guys have any questions throughout the presentation, you can comment them there, and then we'll be answering them after the talk. So let's get it started. First and foremost, I definitely need to thank my good friend Carolyn. She's the one who taught me this, and without her, none of us would be here listening. So thank you very much, Carolyn. Now, it's always important to know your outcome. My outcome for being on here, for organizing these, for committing to every Saturday, is I really just want to serve you guys. I want to keep GYLS alive all year round. I want to teach you guys a little something that has helped me in my life. And I want to learn. We have some amazing guest speakers, and I'm so excited to learn from all of them. So real quick right now, why are you here? What's your outcome for being on here? Write it down. I'll give you about a minute or so while I figure out why that just glitched. And go ahead, write it down. There's power in actually physically writing it down. So go ahead. We're just going to hang out for a second. Now hopefully you actually wrote it down, because you can think of it in your head all you want. You'll forget in 10 minutes. Write it down. What's your outcome for being on here? Once you've written that down, it's great to have an awesome outcome, and your outcome may be amazing, but without reasons why, it may fall through. You're not going to fully follow through on your outcome. So why you're committed is really important. What's the purpose of your outcome? Why are you committed to your outcome? Also write that down. Why do you want to keep GYLS alive all year? What is that going to do for you? Write it down. Give you another quick 30 seconds. I think I figured out why it glitched, so that's not going to happen next week. Okay. Hopefully you guys all wrote down what your outcome is and why you're committed to it. So we'll just get into it. I'm basically going to cover presence today, and I'm going to cover three things. What is presence? Why should we be present? And how can we be present? So we're going to start off with what. Many times when we talk to people, we kind of just let our minds drift off. How many times have you guys had a conversation with someone where you're talking to them and they're on their phone texting? Or someone's talking to you and you're on your phone texting? Or better yet, how many of you are texting right now as I'm talking to you? Having conversations with people, just having this in the background. How many of you have conversations where you take more than a minute to reply to someone? You're having a conversation texting with someone and you take more than a minute to reply, or they take more than a minute to reply. Or better yet, how many of you actually leave your phone for like 5 minutes just to not seem desperate? It's almost taboo to reply instantly when you get a message. You have to leave it for a little while. How many of you have simultaneous conversations, like conversations with multiple people at the same time, switching between person to person? And how many of you have actually been so distracted, so distant, that you sent the wrong person the wrong message? I know it's happened to me a couple times. I'm guilty of all of them. These are all examples of not being present. If you were present, you wouldn't send the wrong message to the wrong person. I actually just did that a couple days ago. It's brutal. So, what is presence? My own humble definition of presence is really just being in the here and the now. My buddy Einstein said that space and time are combined, they're the same thing, And so being present, being here also equals being now. So it's being in the here and the now. Now there's different kinds of presence. There's different levels. I'm sure you've all experienced all of them before. One of them is being present with things you're doing. Usually people call it being in the zone, being in flow, and I'm sure you've all experienced it before. It feels awesome. You can be present with yourself or spiritually, like when you're meditating, being present with the universe. You can be present with other people, and that's the one I'm mainly going to focus on. And you can even be present with like animals. If you ask your dog would love you when you're present. So we're going to focus on presence between people. One of the key indicators of being present is that time disappears. You literally have no idea how much time has passed when you're present. Usually an hour will pass and it feels like 10 minutes. And I have a pretty awesome story about that. Last year, not this GYLS that happened, but last year, 2013, I planned on teaching my home team presence for about 15 minutes. That was kind of the plan. And it went on for like 3 hours, I think, until 2 in the morning. We just totally lost track of time. We were all really present with each other, so it was awesome. Now, why should we be present? Why does it even matter? Why are we even here? Basically, it allows for more meaningful connections with people. Presence is one of the most important tools for achieving the deepest level of rapport, which is basically just having a connection with someone, being in sync with them. Presence allows for people to trust you more, and they'll be more open to sharing more personal things with you. They'll feel like they have a connection with you. It's really one of the best gifts you can give someone. It's giving someone your time, which is the most valuable resource, is just an incredible gift, and they'll really appreciate you for it. So, how can we be present? First off, it's more than just undivided attention. You really need to be engaged on several levels, physically, mentally, and emotionally. Physically, you need to be engaged, and the way you can do that is through matching and mirroring, which is how you build rapport. You can mirror their eye contact, whether they look away at certain times or not. You can kind of copy them. They're blinking, if they're like a really fast blinker, or if they're like a cold stare, you want to kind of make them feel like you're like them. So you want to do the same kind of things they're doing. Their breathing, and that's really important to be in sync with their breathing. Their tone, how fast they talk or how slow they talk, and even their body language. If you're in person and they have their legs crossed or something, you can kind of play with that and match and mirror them, which is awesome. And I'm sure someone else in one of these sessions will go in on a session on rapport. I'll make sure we can cover that because it's a really important skill to have. You want to also be mentally engaged. You want to clear your mind of anything else other than the present moment. How many times when you're talking to someone, you have other things popping into your head, like what are you going to eat for lunch that day or something? I know that happens to me sometimes. You need to come from a place of listening with the intent to understand and not just listening with the intent to reply. How often when you're talking to someone or someone's talking to you, you're already formulating what you're going to say to reply to that person before they've even finished talking. When that happens, as you're formulating what you're going to say, they're talking and you're not really fully present with what they're saying. And so you reply and it may not even make sense with what the rest of what they were saying. If you listen with the intent to understand, you'll become a better communicator because you'll have listened to what they said and then you'll be able to reply to what they said. If you reiterate a little bit of what they said when you go to reply, they'll actually feel like you really listened to them and you'll be a way better communicator for sure. You need to be emotionally engaged. You want that person that you're talking to, being present with, to feel like they're the most important person in the whole world to you in that moment. You want to imagine transferring that person unconditional love. It's those intentions that make all the difference. That's what makes it different than just undivided attention. It's the emotional engagement that you have when you're present with someone. When you're present with people, people actually love listening to you. And even better, they love talking to you when you're listening to them. You'll develop more meaningful connections with people that you might not have normally developed. And I have an awesome example, the calf lady from GYLS. I know all my Wolfpack brothers know this. In my home team, I taught them all presents this year too. My room and Jeff's room, we were kind of both combined, and we were the Wolfpack. And so I taught them presents, and then I gave them a challenge that they had to go and practice being present with everyone they could that day. And I had already had a day because the coaches show up earlier, and the calf lady, the lady like at the calf swiping the cards, just is constantly looking down, swiping cards all day. And so I told them, like, this is your challenge, guys. You have to be present with her. Just say thank you, but be present when you say thank you. And so I would kind of hang out watching them do it, and they would like stand there watching her until she would look up and then say thank you and really like look into her eyes, be emotionally, physically, mentally engaged. And she just had the biggest smile every time one of them would say thank you. And then all the rest of the people behind them, she would be present with them and say thank you, and all the smiles got passed around. It was just awesome. So my invitation to you is this. The next time you're interacting with someone, today, next week, whenever, just as much as you can, just be present. Just practice it, and I would love to hear all about how it goes for you. If you have any questions, again, like I said, I posted a comment I posted in the Facebook group, and I pinned it to the top, so it should be right at the top. Comment in there, and we'll answer those pretty much right now. And next week we have Brody Whitney, who was a coach at GYLS a couple years, on activate and realize your biggest dreams and goals with RPM. And it's going to be amazing. Brody is the man, I'm telling you. He is a life coach, and he's really a role model and an inspiration for me and so many other people. And RPM is awesome. I use it all the time. I used it in this presentation a little bit. I'm sure he'll pick it out. And so now we can go to some questions. I don't know if there are any. Let me see. Doesn't look like there are, but actually we're going to have Craig Miller, who is one of my alumni from last year, who was a youth leader this year. And I taught him presence, and he's one of the best that I've ever seen at presence. So he's going to have a couple words to share. So I'm going to unmute him. Maybe you can unmute yourself. So actually not letting me unmute you. Craig, can you unmute yourself? Is that working? Oh, you can. All right. It's all you.
Okay. So one of the most important things you have to be present is that more than just about listening and wanting to engage with them. You have to try and orientate your body towards them. Be open and express that in your body language. So if you're standing in front of someone and you're saying, tell me more about your life, I really would like to know, as opposed to saying, tell me more about your life, I would really like to know. See how there's a difference in the feeling that you'll get? There's a difference in connection if just with your body language. That's one of the pillars of being present. There's 3 of them. The first is you have to be making eye contact. Eye contact is essential with presence. If you're not making eye contact, you're not connecting with the other person properly. Like, I can say, hi, I'm Craig Miller. Nice to meet you. Or I can say, hi, I'm Craig Miller. Nice to meet you. Which one felt more present? Just eye contact, guys. So you've got to remember body language and eye contact. Past that, you speak. So you can speak at someone, and you can speak really, really fast, and you can say, oh my god, I love your day, how is it, how's everything about you, how's everything, I love everything in this entire room, the entire house and the entire world, it's so amazing. And you're speaking at them. You're not actually giving someone a chance to talk to you if they have something to say or have something to add. So if you want to pace your volume, pace your speech a little bit, and give them a chance to jump in if they have anything to add, building more of that connection with them through your language. So you've already focused all of your presence just by doing 3 things. You got to remember your body language, how you open yourself or you close yourself is really important with being present. After that, you have to remember to have eye contact and maintain eye contact for most of the time you're talking with someone. Following that, you just have to pace your speech a little bit. And it's as easy as that. If you work on those 3 pillars, you'll improve your presence and you'll just get so much more out of life. Like, you learn a lot of techniques at GYLS that will help you in any situation. But sometimes they're less effective than they could be, or you feel that they could be. That's just because you weren't being present when you were applying those techniques. So if what you did is you use these 3 pillars and what Sergio was saying about actually desiring their input and wanting to hear, then they'll receive that. They'll get that unconditional love that you're giving them, and it'll actually help any situation you try to apply your other techniques in. And it just makes everything so much easier when you do it. Back over to you, Sergio.
All right, awesome, Craig. I think we've actually got a couple questions now, which is cool. And we've got Jen, who's going to be the question facilitator, so I'm going to unmute you too real quick. Okay, let me see. We have 2 questions. I actually have one for you, Craig. How has presence helped you in your life? What have you accomplished in the last year being present? Any fun stories or at all? Anything you want? Back to you.
Okay. Some things of being present, because I use it so often with most of my life, basically any of the great things that happen in my life are. So if I'm speaking with someone and I'm trying to communicate with them, and they actually give me a positive reaction and they say, "Oh my goodness, thank you for listening," as opposed to earlier when I didn't know about presence, I was still trying to listen to them, I was still trying to communicate. But it just took all of my friendships from here, where I was like trying to be me, and I was trying to listen to them as well, but I just wasn't expressing it properly, to up here, where they could tell that I wanted to listen. So it just improved all of my friendships, and just helped all of my intimate relationships as well. It really, really helps you in just everyday life, and all the small things, they build up and they snowball. And that's the best gift that I've received from this presence technique so far. Back to you, Serge.
Awesome, Craig. That's wicked. All right. We have a couple interesting questions. We've got 3, so hold on. I'm going to have Jen read them off. You ready, Jen? Where are you? Okay. Hold on. What happened to your camera? I wonder if this is live. This is so interesting. We're just testing it out. I don't know what happened to your camera, so I'm just going to read the first one and go back to me. The first one is from Isabel. Is there any way to mirror and match over texting? You want to float that one, Craig? And then I'll add it on the rest of it.
Okay. Believe it or not, but there is a way to mirror and match through texting. So if you're listening and you're communicating with someone through a text, you can actually mirror how they say their sentences. If someone's talking to you and they're just talking to you in really long words, and every word they say is proper English, and you're sending them back, "Okay, see ya, bye, okay," things like that, you're going to lose that rapport. If you match and mirror the way that they're speaking to you with the way that they do their sentences, how they use their grammar or how they don't use their grammar, then you're going to be connecting with them a bit more. Also, emojis are very, very powerful. Like, you can express your emotion that you're feeling towards their story and to how you think they're feeling at the time through an emoji, which will also add into that matching and mirroring. Back to you, Serge.
Awesome. That's really great. And yeah, just to add to that, people like people who are like them. So even just the way people say hi, if you say hey, hi, hello, if you just use the same kind of language patterns that they use, they'll feel you're like them, and they'll feel that you're kind of matching their language. It's pace, tone of voice, there's tons of different ways. Texting is probably the least present form of communication. Then you move to telephone, then you move to like video call like Skype, where it's like audio and video, and then actually in person. So I would urge you to, as the levels of presence go up, try and have more communication in the higher levels of presence. If you can, meet with someone in person. If you can't, then Skype them. If you can't, call them, and use texting as a last resort. So many of us use texting and email as a first resort to talk to someone. You just want to say, hey, how's it going? What are you up to this weekend? And you'll text them instead of calling them, or instead of just going to hang out at their house or something. So there's definitely different ways to match and mirror through the different levels of being present. So we have another question. Let me see. From Josh. Can you be present over Skype or internet chatting? So it's kind of what we just covered. You definitely can, and through the same things we just said, matching and mirroring. With Skype, which is a level up, you can actually kind of mirror their eye contact. If they're blinking a lot, you can see that. If they're looking away a lot, or if they're really just kind of in the zone staring. If they kind of cross their arms, even though it's not the best body language, you can kind of match and mirror that. Even something like when they go to take a sip of water, you take one too. That's also matching and mirroring, so that can definitely help too. Craig, you want to add anything else to that? The next level of presence over like Skype?
Yeah, with Skype also, it's important that not just when you establish when you should have a video call, that can be very important. If you're saying, and you're kind of disregarding them and saying, oh, you know what, let's have it at 3 a.m. your time because that's at 8 p.m. for me, and that's perfect. That's going to disengage with them, with their presence, with your presence as well. So choosing when the right Skype time is with how present you are with them, because it's kind of like you're disregarding them if you don't take into consideration when they should have their Skype calls as well. Also with Skype, it's very interesting because sometimes you might want to lean one way or the other, and sometimes I know that when I'm on Skype, I can end up in really, really weird positions. However, if you're ending up as a human pretzel and they're still sitting up with good posture, then you're actually breaking that presence that you have, because you're being twisted around is not focusing 100% of you towards them. If you're focusing 100% of you, 110% everything you've got, then you're not going to be able to go and just fold around. It'll just be a lot easier, and it will maintain presence if you just stay with correct posture looking at them. So posture is very, very important. Also, it's very hard to gauge with speaking with someone over Skype. So talking over each other also is a real problem. So to engage, if you're trying to, and your main outcome is to engage with them in a present way, maybe give them 1 or 2 seconds after they finish talking to just fully engage with them and be present with them. So you know, okay, I understand you finished talking now. And that's it for video call, I think.
I think we have a couple more questions. Actually, we've got one from Ben. Hi, Sergio and Craig. This is really great. Can you please develop a little on how to bring the focus back to the person when and if our mind drifts off? Any suggestions? Is it about energy or training? So I'll front that one for now. When you're talking to someone and your mind kind of drifts off, and sometimes like I'll find myself like you'll be hungry or something, and you're talking to someone and you drift off. Oh my God, I can't wait to eat lunch after I'm done talking to this person. You're really trying to be present with them, but your mind just comes off. Or maybe you're stressed out at work and you just have other things on your mind. We've all got things on our mind. That is actually just a practice thing. You have to practice being present. It's like meditating. When you try and meditate, they actually have like mantras. You go like to clear your mind, and your mind will drift, and you have to bring it back to that place. So that's actually just practice. You have to practice being present. It's actually a skill you have to develop. You all have it inside of you, but some people haven't woken it up or haven't used it in a little while. So you definitely have to practice being present and keeping your mind from drifting and just being focused on that person. It really helps to have the intention of making them the most important thing, because then whatever else you're thinking about won't be as important, obviously, right? If your mind drifts, it's because you think whatever you're thinking about is more important than who you're talking to. So if you keep the intention of this is the most important thing for me right now, it'll be a little bit easier for your mind not to drift, and also just with practice, it won't. You got anything to add, Craig?
Yeah. So when your mind starts to drift a little bit, what you have to try and do is you have to change your physiology to engage a little bit, because you know that if you're in one spot for a while, you're just going to settle, and your brain is going to say, okay, we're done with this, we're going to move on to the next. So if you're trying to engage your physiology and you want to change it, ask the other person, okay, can we go for a walk while we're talking? And because when you're walking, you're going to get rid of some of those chemicals that were building up, and your brain's not going to say, oh, I'm tired now, let's think about sleeping, let's think how many hours of sleep I could be getting right now. So if you're changing your physiology, you're changing the chem, and you're going to change what you're going to think about, basically. It's going to make it easier for you to be able to listen to them and take everything in. Because if you're just sitting in one spot and trying to be present with people, then it can get quite challenging to keep your mind on task. So whenever possible, you can stand up, if they're standing as well, and go on a walk. It will change your physiology, and it will get rid of some of those chemical buildup that's getting your mind to just be idle and drift onto a lot of different conversations, a lot of different topics in your brain. Okay, I think that's about it.
Awesome, Craig. All right, I think we had more of a comment than a question from Kai Wei. She just said, just to add, matching and mirroring is awesome. Just breathing rate, body language. We can be more present. That really applied to me doing the board breaking session. Awesome. Yeah, you can definitely. I remember when I said earlier, you can be present not only with people, with yourself, and with animals and stuff, but with things you're doing. When you guys were all doing the board break, you weren't thinking about what you were gonna have for lunch later that day. Like, you were so present in the moment breaking that board. You were just in the zone. You were in flow. So you've all experienced it before. It's just a matter of getting to that place, being able to get yourself to that place quickly. I think we have another question, actually. We're going to let Jen, because I think her camera's working. You can lead this question. Do you have it open, Jen? Let me see. We have one from Mary.
Yeah, I see them. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay. We have a question from Mary, and it's she finds that I can be very good at feeling like I'm present with others, but then it is possible to feel like sometimes you're not present with yourself.
Ooh, that's a good question. Do you want to take it?
Really like that question.
All right, Greg.
Okay. I have found thing happens with me. You're like, I'm not dedicating enough of me to myself. And you're saying, I'm not communicating with myself properly, or anything like that. And that's because you've erected all these barriers in your mind. It's basically just because, okay, so to be a good person, to all the ideals of being a good person, or who I want to be, I can't think about myself ever. I can't be doing this ever. I can't be doing that ever. So the easiest way to be present with yourself, you know what? I'm going to open up a divide, and I'm going to look at myself for what I believe that I am. And then, so it's really quite difficult to do that, but one of the easiest ways that I find is to stop, and right after the mirror exercise, possibly, like after a good mirror exercise, you stop and you just talk to yourself, and you have a conversation with yourself. Because with other people, then just treat the mirror like it's a different person. Treat the person in the mirror like it's a different person, and speak with them. Doing that, then what you're going to find is that you're engaging with yourself, and your conversation will actually flow with yourself. It's pretty trippy and pretty cool. Like, I find that's the easiest way to be present with yourself and to practice being present with other people as well. It's really, really phenomenal. Did either of you have anything to add?
I think you pretty much nailed it right there, Craig. You're awesome, man. But yeah, definitely being present with yourself is really important. And also, as maybe philosophical as this might sound, meditating really helps you be present with yourself. You are like one with the universe. And so being present with the universe, being spiritually present, that whole dimension of it helps to be present with yourself, to just not be distracted by all the other things, just to really And it's the same thing as the intention. You have to make that person feel like they're the most important thing. That person is you when you're being present with yourself. You have to give that person unconditional love. That's you giving it to yourself. So you want to give that to yourself to be present with yourself. Let me see. I think we have another one actually. So Jen, you can, if you have that open, read that question.
Emily Arlen asked, when you are matching and mirroring someone else, how do you get them to be as present with you as you are with them if they're the person on the phone or they're the person that seems distracted in a conversation?
Awesome. I'll take that one super quick. And then Craig, you can add because I know you're eager to. Here's the thing with presence, it's contagious. If the two people are having a conversation and you're both texting, which honestly happens all the time, neither of you are present with each other, you're not going to do it. But if when someone's talking to you, you're really present with them, when you go to talk to them, they're going to be engaged. You engage people when you're present. It's not just engaging yourself, right? So if you're talking to someone and they're on their phone and you're really present with them, it'll rub off on them and they'll start to become a little bit more present with you. And also now that you've learned all these techniques, you can teach other people like your friends and your family, and they'll all be more present so you can both be present. You don't have to kind of fight it to see who's more present and to try and make them, right? You can just show them. Craig, you got anything to add?
To be honest, you just hit it exactly. The easiest way to have a good conversation with someone, and if they actually mean something to you, the easiest way is to simply teach. It's a gift that keeps on giving everywhere. So if you teach someone else presence, then they're obviously going to be pretty interested if you do it right. And you say, just give it a try. And if they're throwing it back at you being present, then when you're being present towards them, if you feel that's probably not the best course to take with someone, then what you can also do is you can just stop and you can just ask them to put away their phone, please, because you're trying to talk to them. If you feel that they're just gonna laugh at me for telling them about this present thing, they're gonna be doing this, then you just have to find another way to deal with it. So maybe you don't call it presence. Maybe you just say, okay, can you put your phone away, please, for a second, and just say that it's important to you, and it's important to you that they listen to you. Can be really, really powerful. Just saying it's important to me that you, because I think if you're expressing to them and you're saying like that, that's a really clear indicator of something that they can do to please you, and then that's what they're gonna do, because you'll probably mean something back to them. All right, back over to you guys.
Okay,
Awesome.
so.
Okay, you're live.
Omid asked the question, what happens when we have a burning question to ask that has to do with what the person is saying? What do we do in a situation like this so that we don't sit there and focus on our question instead of focusing on the other person?
Cool. All right, Omid, awesome for getting on. That's my boy, peer group. One of the things you can do if you when you're talking to someone or listening and you start formulating something else instead of what they're saying, a really good thing to do is just to write it down. When you're in a position where someone's talking and you have a question, you can be taking notes. It's not like you're going to have a conversation where you can't do that. So I would just write it down or kind of remember it and then just kind of put it away and be present. And then if it's a good enough question, it'll come back to you when it's your turn. Or if it's really just a burning question, you can maybe just stop them and be like, hey, listen, I want to be present with you, but I really just have to ask you this right now, and I don't want to forget, or something like that. So that's one way to do it, I would say. Craig, you got anything to add to that?
The way that I would say, because in situations like that, it can be very difficult, and it relates directly to their story, and you're like, if they move past this point in their story, then I'm not going to be able to remember this question. Now, the way that I believe is the best way to deal with that is to simply weigh up what's more important. Is it more important that they finish telling the story so that it's important to them that they get it out, or is it more important to ask this question, shaping question that'll help them with their story? And it won't interrupt it too much. It's basically just a balance of how important it is. Because if it's so important that you need to ask it, then it needs to be asked. But if it's a question that can wait, or it's just personal curiosity, it'll probably rise again in some other form. So the easiest way to deal with it is to simply weigh up what's more important. Is it more important that they finish what they're telling me now, or is it more important to ask this question? That's about all I have to add.
Awesome, Craig. That was wicked. I think that's it for questions for now, unless you guys have some. I feel like there's 19 viewers on here, so if you want to ask any questions, now is the time. Also, at the beginning, I asked, I should say, what is your outcome for being on here, and why? Why are you committed to that outcome? So it would be awesome if some of you wanted to share in that same comment box what your outcome is for being on here, being on these weekly momentum sessions, and why. That would be really cool. So I'll give you guys a second. And while you guys are writing that, I just want to say thank you to my two panel guests. First, Jen, for helping me organize all this. She helped me test it all, making you live. You're live. And for just helping me test it and for helping me organize it, inviting people, figuring out all the logistics of it. It was kind of behind the scenes, but this wouldn't have even happened without you, so you're awesome. Thank you so much. And then for Craig, you're live now. For even just hopping on here last minute, I'm pretty sure it was like the night before or whatever time it was in Australia. What time is it? It's 12:40 for you right now. It's almost 1 in the morning, and you're on here just serving. And so you're awesome too, man. You're amazing. You're both amazing. I think we actually have some more posts now. So Jen, you can answer that one, or read it. Ooh, did we get two? We got Christy.
Yeah. So, Christy wants to know, is it possible to focus so much on being present with someone that it could take away from being present, like the presence itself?
Wow, that's a heavy question. Craig, that's all you.
Okay.
Oh no, what happened to your camera? Hold on. Something happened. So we're going to go to me until your camera... Oh no, it's back. Alright, it's all you.
Okay. So, yes, it is possible for that to happen. The way you deal with it is to kind of practice in your own time with your body language, with how you say your words, and with your eyesight, like with your eye connection. When it's a conversation with someone else, it's a kind of, okay, it's time, maybe at the start I can concentrate on establishing this presence. I have to just trust myself that this is going to happen. And you have to trust your body that it's going to be open still. Trust your eyes that they're going to be still looking at them. And that your speech is going to stay slow. But it can be difficult. So the most important thing is practice. Now, a very, very easy way to practice, as I said earlier, is to have conversations with yourself in the mirror. And it's absolutely amazing if you can. If you can just say, you know what, I'm going to put aside this embarrassment because, you know, who the hell has conversations with themselves in the mirror? But if you just say, no, I'm going to give it a try, and you actually develop those present skills, it'll come back and serve you tenfold through just everywhere, in every aspect of your life. Your communications with people will improve. So it is possible to focus so much on, okay, my arms are coming across again, I need to uncross them. I'm turning away from them, I need to turn back towards them, my eyes aren't, and then you're like, oh goodness, I've just missed everything that they've just said. So what they're saying when you're being present with another person. When it's just yourself, work on those tiny tics. Work on maintaining eye contact and maintaining an open body stance and your speech. And that's all I have to add for that one.
Craig, you're awesome. That was such a confusing question, and you just nailed it. And this was like so last minute. Chris just hopped on like a day before, and you're just killing it. You're awesome, man. Just to add to that, what was I gonna add? Oh yeah, it's presence. Like we're teaching it right now as like a skill that you have to develop and whatever. But really, all of you already know how to do it. It's just being present. It's if you look at like a timeline, there's the past, which is back in the day. Those are all memories, and it's just things in your head that are made up. There's the future, which is also just things that are made up. What's going to happen later, and then there's the present, and there's a reason the present is called a gift. It's just being present. You don't like you can practice it and develop the skill and become a master at rapport and matching and mirroring, but as long as you're just present, you're just in the present moment, you'll do it. So you don't have to worry about it being too complicated of a skill or anything. Let me see. I think we have some more questions, so I'll send it back to Jen. You can read the next one. You're live.
Okay. So Nick's question was, what if someone is trying to tell you a story or explain something to you, and the presence is there, but you begin to lose interest? How do you maintain interest? How do you maintain presence without having true interest in what a person is saying?
Awesome. So I'll take that one real quick, and then Craig, you can add. When someone's telling you something, if it's something that you really love, like if someone to me were talking about GYLS or something, you would be present automatically because it's just something you love listening to. If someone's telling you something that's just really boring, let's say maybe class, your school professors or teachers or whatever, and you're just bored and clearly not interested, you kind of have no choice but to listen. So again, the intention of making it the most important thing ever, you can make yourself be interested in whatever you're listening to. Think about how that could be awesome, like, and just reframe it in your mind. So, and then if it's maybe not a situation where you have to listen, maybe it's not class, maybe it's just a friend just blabbing on about something that you really couldn't care less about. Maybe just be honest, and Gary King will thank me for this. Just tell the truth and tell them, listen, man, I really don't care about what you're saying. Maybe not like that. This is really boring. I'm not interested in what you're saying. Or maybe just change their focus pattern, interrupt them, and hey, so yeah, maybe blah blah, and just change the subject or something. So, Craig, you want to add to that?
Yeah. Okay. So a really, really good way to engage if it's something that you really need to listen to, or that you really want to listen to, but it's a bit boring, a good way to engage with it is to associate a better meaning to it. So if you're listening to someone speak, and it's important that you hear it and absorb it, then a really good way to do it is, okay, what will this get me if I listen to it? Like, if it is in class and it is the teacher saying, you know, this war happened in this time and this war happened in this time, then it can be really easy to lose sight of what you're aiming for. So if you keep your aim in mind of, okay, if I listen right now, then I'm gonna ace that test coming up in like 6 weeks. And then when I ace that test, I'm gonna be able to achieve my dreams. If you say, if I listen to this and I listen every other time this person speaks, I'm going to be able to achieve my dreams, then 100% you're going to be engaging with what they're saying, even if it's boring. You just have to continually remind yourself, okay, this is the meaning that I'm going to give it. This is the meaning that it deserves, and this is how I'm going to take this across. Is I'm just going to say, you know what, this is important, like Sergio said, this is important, and it deserves my focus, so I'm going to give it. I'm going to give all of my attention, undivided attention, and unconditional love to being present and listening and absorbing. That's what I have to add to that one.
Awesome, Craig. You are the man. I'm so happy I got you on here. I think there's a couple more. 1, 2, 3. Yeah. So here I'll send it back to Jen, and you can read some. I think we got Ben next. I'm pretty sure. Yeah.
Well, the next question is actually from Bella,
Oh,
and
okay.
she wanted to know, how do you give the best presence when talking over the phone, like with your tone of voice?
Okay. I'll get that one. So over the phone, it's well, it goes in person, then video chat, then over the phone. So it's less and less kind of able to be present. But again, um, conveying the emotional um, engagement of wanting that person to be the most important thing, even just that, they don't have to hear you say anything or sense it. It's just a feeling that you're conveying to them that will give you presence. Now, with actual techniques over the phone, if someone's talking really loud and fast, you want to kind of match that. And then if they're also talking really slow and steady, then you want to also match that, right? How loud they talk, and again, matching the kind of language that they use really helps with that. So mostly just matching and mirroring. And I'm going to see if I can get someone on rapport to lead a session so we can get more into that. Craig, you want to add anything?
Yes, I would actually. With over the phone, it's a lot about how are they saying what they're saying. And it's exactly what you said. If they're speaking really loud and really fast, then you're going to be wanting to match their intensity. It's all about matching their intensity, matching their tone, and how they say what they say. So if they're swearing a lot, then you might want to match that. Or if they constantly say, "Hey man, 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 man," you want to say, "Oh, cool man," and you want to kind of match the intensity that they're bringing the conversation to. So if they're sharing deep things, so be opening up to them as well. You want to be meeting their intensity, or maybe even bettering it, but not by too much. As close as you can to their intensity, that's what you want to be hitting. A little bit more intensity is better than a little bit too little, however. Because when you start to lead and you start to say, okay, let's get more intense, let's open this conversation for even more presence, then you might actually find they follow you. And you can lead them just by little bits, by increasing their intensity just a little bit every time. You can bring them up to where you want them to be. So a little bit too much intensity is better than a little bit too little, but you always want to be trying to hit the kind of intensity that they're sharing. So if they're sharing things that are really hard for them, then you might want to share things that will make it easier for them. So like if they're sharing a story about how they're getting bullied or what's going wrong in their life right now, then a really easy way to connect with them is to share about what's happened in your life and what's going on in your life. As what you've overcome to be where you are today, because that way you send that it's achievable, and you're also meeting with that rapport. And when you have rapport, then you're also going to have presence, because you can't have rapport without presence. It's just so with presence, you want to over the phone. You want to match their intensity, and as close as that as you can get. A little bit more is okay. Don't go a little bit under though. You want to use the same kind of words that they're using. So if they're one phrase or like a mantra or something, then maybe you can slip that in when you're saying something. Or if they're saying man a lot, or if they're swearing a lot, then that's also a really, really good idea, is to pick up on some of that. But yeah, those are really, really strong ways to convey presence to someone over the phone. Back to you guys.
Awesome, Craig. And just one quick thing to add. Usually, when most people actually swear, and so some people that don't, if you're swearing, they'll actually find it really offensive. And as present as you're trying to be, as much rapport as you have, if you're swearing a lot and that makes them uncomfortable, you will break your rapport big time. So if you don't usually swear and they are a little bit, maybe adding a couple just to build some rapport, but the other way around, if they're not swearing, you really want to refrain from that, because that'll really break your presence. Let me see. Okay, next question. Jen, back to you so you can read it.
The next question is from Nicholas, and he asked, is there a way to anchor presence with yourself and with others?
That's an awesome question, and I'm pretty sure he's from the Wolf Pack. Yeah. So anchoring, we're definitely going to lead a session on anchoring, and that's going to be awesome. I don't know who wants to do it. And by the way, any of you watching, anyone who's watching, if you want to lead one of these sessions, just send me a message on Facebook. I'd love to have you guys. I know Jen and Craig are both going to lead one, and it's going to be awesome. So anchoring presence. Anchoring, really, I don't want to get too much into it because I'm just going to take the spotlight from someone else, but you get anchored anytime you have a peak of an experience and then get positively rewarded for it and do something. So when you're present, if you be present with someone and then they thank you or something, that'll be kind of anchored to you. And then you be present again with someone else, and then they say thank you, or they give you a hug, or they say, wow, you changed my life just by listening to me. That'll get slowly anchored. It's a little bit different than the anchoring of kind of pulling an anchor like your power move, but it will be anchored repeatedly as you be present and get rewarded for it. So it'll just automatically anchor itself. And the more you practice it, the more it'll just become natural and easier to do, and you'll just want to do it more. Craig, you got anything to add? I think you're muted. I'm going to unmute you. Maybe you can unmute yourself.
With anchoring, with presence, it's very different topic. Whoever asked this question, I commend you. This is a very, very well done question. So with anchoring, what you want to do is you want to repeat an action to associate it with whatever you're doing at the time. So if you're being present, maybe you want to have some kind of physical thing for you. So if every time you want to be present and you want to be in the zone, you just do something simple that they won't notice, that won't break reports, such as like doing this or something, then that might anchor in that presence is really a powerful emotion. And when you're anchoring that powerful emotion with something like this, you can bring it back. Now with anchoring with other people, when you're being really present with someone, you can also like tap on their shoulder or something, and that'll build a bridge between you two. So it'll bring them back to how they were when you were talking with them every time you touch their shoulder, because you're repeating an action to bring them back to a state of mind or like an experience. Back over to you, Serge.
Awesome, Craig. You're the man. I don't know if we have any more questions. I think that might have been the last one. So now we can get to the outcomes, because I asked you all to share what your outcome was and why. So Jen, if you want to read a couple of those, because I know you're the one in charge of that. It's all, I don't even know which one we're on right now. I feel like Ben might have been the first one.
Okay,
he's in
cool.
Europe right now, which is awesome. It's like the afternoon for him.
Sweet. Well, Ben's outcome for presence is presence feels like an essential skill, and I want to master it and consistently be present when it matters most. And then he said, you guys did an amazing job, and it was so well done. And then for the outcome for the momentums page, he said, great things can be repeated and lived a long time. It does not need to be restricted to just a week per year. I want to enjoy and grow all year round. So awesome, Ben. And then we'll read a couple more. Mary said, I'm here because I'm so hungry for knowledge all the time. Knowledge is power, and I'm transforming on a daily basis. Can I is what I live by. Can you guess what my human need is? I'm guessing growth, Mary. And then we can do, Omen said, his outcome is to support my Tergio buddy and to learn and grow my present skills.
Awesome. All right, guys. Those are all awesome outcomes. Really great questions. We actually had so many questions. This is amazing. I feel like the question and answer was really valuable. I'd actually brought out a lot of awesome stuff that I didn't add in my presentation. And honestly, Craig, I just want to say again, you did such an amazing job in just floating all those questions without being prepared at all. You had like less than a day. I was like preparing like a week in advance. I was like writing things down. Craig just jumped right on and killed it. So awesome to you, Craig. And thank you, Jen, for helping me set this all up. Honestly, wouldn't have even had a session without you, so you're awesome for that. It doesn't look like there's any more questions, so we still have a couple more viewers. If you have any last-minute questions, I would post them right now. If not, I'm going to share a couple of the people who are lined up to talk. So this Saturday we had presents with me. Next Saturday, August 16th, we have Brody Whitney, and he's a GYLS coach and actually a Tony Robbins coach, and he's the founder of Dream Joggle, and he's going to talk on RPM, activate and realize your biggest goals and dreams with RPM. So that's going to be awesome. You definitely don't want to miss that. Then the next Saturday, we've got Rachel Bell, one of our youth leaders. She's also the founder of Outlook Mastery, and she's going to talk about the guiding force in your life. That's going to be interesting. Definitely don't want to miss that. Then August 30th, we've got Sarah from Compassionate. That's going to be awesome, one of our GYLS speakers. And September 6th, we've got Anthony Trapani, the GYLS Coach of the Year last year, Leadership 101. Then we've got Omid, one of our GYLS youth coaches, fully went through all 4 years of GYLS. He's the first youth coach to step up and lead one of these. How to create outstanding relationships. And then Saturday, September 20th, we've got the slot open. And we have a whole bunch of speakers. I don't even know. If I had to guess, it's like 20, all lined up, all from speakers to team leaders to youth leaders, youth coaches, and even a couple alumni. So if you want to lead one, let me know. We can set you up for September 20th or whatever Saturday works for you. Let me see if we've got any more questions. Actually, Jen, do we have any more?
No, we don't.
Okay.
Not on the page.
Thanks a million. No, I think we're good then. All right. So thank you guys all for coming. This was awesome. We went almost exactly an hour. This was so perfectly timed. And I know we kind of had a hiccup at the beginning, so we'll definitely fix that for next time. And thank you all for coming, and I'll see you guys all next Saturday. All right.